Just making sure we're all recording. So we've got a bit of a different coffee chat today. We've got some exciting guests joining Brice and I. So first of all, we've got Wendy Smith, now one of my fellow people from the UK, and really lovely to see you here, Wendy. How are you doing?
I'm good. The sun, well, I say the sun has been shining. It's not now, but it's quite nice. So yeah, life is good, Catherine. What can I say?
Good. And then we have got Stephanie from Spiritual Perspectives of the Great Awakening. You all know Stephanie. Everyone on my channel knows Stephanie. And you're together, aren't you, in person? How lovely.
Yes, again. In my neck of the woods now. Drove all the way up the East Coast and now I'm in Connecticut. So, you know, it's so funny. You have to drive through New York City and we were laughing about it. And there's a line from Legally Blonde where the boyfriend goes, "You got into Harvard?" And she goes, "What? Like it's hard?" And someone asked me, like, "You drove through New York City?" I was like, "What? Like it's hard?" So I thought it was. So that those people out there, when I drove back home and I drove through New York City, I really thought I was going to die about 10 times. But to see the city driver, I live in the woods. I was filming driving through New York. I was like, "Oh, look, there's the building."
I wouldn't want to be driving through New York City. I don't drive in London either. I avoid it like the plague because I'm like you, Steph. I'm a country bumpkin. Now, today we're going to be talking about something really, really important that all four of us are really passionate about. And that's going to be mind matters. So, Wendy, start us off. Why have we picked this subject?
We've picked this subject, I think, to begin with, because of the environment I work in, which is awareness. So as an awareness trainer, I work in sort of, I suppose, 3 different areas of awareness. So hostility and situational awareness with my business partner, John, who's former Special Forces. We teach people to be safe. So to be more aware of, you know, where they're carrying their phone, their handbags, where they're traveling, this sort of thing. So working with John for so many years has really made me aware, not just aware of like my thoughts and stuff, but more aware of when I leave the house, what am I doing? What behaviours do I have? You know, am I making myself a victim today or staying safe? So it's not about paranoia. It's just about awareness of me and others and environmental factors, because everywhere is a situation, isn't it? And it could put you into an awkward position or not, based on how aware you are of what's happening. And then I suppose from the other perspective is my main job, which is PTSD and trauma cleanup. But that is, for me, that's the self-awareness. So because I went through a long journey of PTSD and trauma myself, and then went on to the next journey of becoming self-aware, thoughts, emotions, habits, behaviours, energy, language, you know, we're going to go into all this. You know, that's something that I do on a daily basis. I practice awareness. I make sure I listen to this thing to see where it is and feel the body and, you know, learn to tune into the intuition, which we're not taught. So I think we decided to talk today about all those bits and pieces that we're never taught, which is as well what I run on the retreats. We were saying about education, you know, we do educational retreats so people can learn their human system from the inside out, about your gut health, your gut brain axis, you know, how all this affects your emotional states and your thought processes. And then from the other way about the thought processes. And our connection to everything. Sorry, I'm going on a lot, aren't I? Conscious connection to everything. This, when we all realise that we're consciously creating our reality together, you have your part, but we've got this big consciousness that we're creating from as well. You know, we'll be able to change things really quickly. So it's that, where do we want to go? How do we want to get there, and get there as quickly as possible with the least amount of aggro?
Yeah, check out my Instagram. I did a little video on that yesterday. I recorded you not more, but just a little thing on that, because we talk about this all the time, don't we, Brice and Steph, about choices. And once you get to the stage, and we're really lucky because anyone who watches any 4 of us are already pretty damn aware of a lot of what we're talking about anyway. But we talk about this a lot, don't we, Brice, about the choices. And once you've accepted that you do create your reality and that you have a choice every minute of every day, things start to shift really quickly, don't they?
Yeah. Well, it's freeing. I mean, I know I've spoken about this very openly. I'm a survivor of CPTSD, as my trauma therapist diagnosed me with this complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's so funny. We've talked about this, just being aware of what things are. In my situation, I was in my early 30s when I went into trauma therapy. And when I went into trauma therapy, I knew I had had things happen to me but I wasn't aware that I was actually in a state of an anxiety disorder. I thought that it was normal. I thought everybody had nightmares every night. I thought it was kind of funny that I would sleepwalk or have night terrors and would have to lock my bedroom door so I didn't run out in the middle of the night. I thought that was just, I had been so used to feeling that I thought it was normal. And when that awareness comes in, when you start to actually understand what your mind can subsequently do to you, it doesn't mean to. The mind is supposed to keep you in a state of survival. That gives you that power, that awareness gives you the power that it then start to course correct. I didn't know what catastrophe thinking was until I went into trauma therapy. Now that I know what catastrophe thinking is, I recognize it, and that awareness helps me then go, wait a minute. I mean, I laugh when I have to leave my dog at home by himself. The craziest thoughts will come into my head.
Me too.
Is it? And that's catastrophe thinking. You know, and that's a part of an anxiety disorder that comes from that traumatic experience. And it's what you do with it. You can be victim. All of us have traumas. Nobody gets out of this world alive. That's part of being a human, is you got to go through your shit, you know. But if you continually perpetually stay the victim or stay in that anxiety based response, then what your psyche is doing is it's going to repetitively call in more situations to get you to heal that wound, right? So it's like when we see girls go through one abusive relationship after the next, it's just that the guy just changes. It's because that wound needs to be healed, and your higher self knows that, and so it's going to keep giving you opportunities. But when you realize that's all it is just opportunities to transmute, you then have the upper hand. That's the plot twist.
And it takes work, doesn't it? I think this is the one thing that really got me when I first started. I've always been, I would say, a pretty aware person, you know, even through childhood, just because of my family upbringing. It was when I did an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, a friend of mine hoofed me off and said, go and do an NLP prac course. You need to know what you're doing to yourself. And I trusted her, and I thought, right, I'll go and do this. I've no idea what this is. She won't tell me what it is. So I went and did this course, and it was 7 days intensive one-on-one with the trainer, because she didn't have any running. And I said, I really need to come and see you. She said, it's going to be intense. And I thought, yeah, it's 7 days, you know, you sort of flop up there thinking, I've no idea what's going to happen. And it was just unpacking Wendy. That's all I did is she taught me everything about my human system in 1 week. And I came back probably even more traumatized, because I came back with the awareness of my whole entire life was my creation. It was like, wow. So I probably spent 3 days feeling really bad and really depressed when I got home, because I was like, oh my God, proper victim. Like, I've done this to myself. You know, it's not because of them over there or my parents it's got nothing to do with any of it. It's actually my map of reality that I've created. But the great thing was, after that 3-day period of processing, like, this is all my stuff, it was like, wow, if I can create, you know, I'm in a good space, but if I can create that, excuse my language, shit show, then what can now I know this thing and I know how to operate it. Wow. What does that now mean about the future? That means that I can start, you know, generating the thought process to go where I want on purpose, rather than that autopilot. And it's an uncomfortable, challenging journey. It's not, people want a quick fix, don't they? Like, ding, magic wand. But it's like playing tennis. If you hit a ball once, you're not going to Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You've got to hit the ball 30 times, 40 times, 100 times a day to be a Wimbledon champion. You want to learn this and create the lifestyle of your dreams, whatever that may be. It takes daily work.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's so fascinating, and we've spoken about this a bit, Steph, as well, is like working with animals is so important to teach us awareness, because animals don't lie about where our energy really is at. They're a really, really honest reflection. So often on human to human interaction, each human's got a different level of awareness of reading energy and acceptance in terms of self-responsibility for what we do create and what we do put out there. But the beauty of animals is they don't lie at all. They are a complete mirror to what we're putting out there. And certainly when you're working with animals that have suffered previous trauma and abuse, it's incredible to see how the most important thing is how we control our own energy and how they pick up on that. And then that's how they read their world. And I think it's such a wonderful reminder, because every single, you know, we we as humans talk a lot about the big theys, the mighty theys out there, and we haven't been taught this and we haven't done that. But at the end of the day, once that little spark of light goes off inside you and you realize you do have a choice, the beauty of modern living is there's so much information out there and so much help out there for any budget, because there's loads of access to free resources on the internet.
Yeah.
And also just loads of really good, you know, books out there, podcasts, you name it. There's all sorts of help. And then, of course, paid therapists. But that self-acceptance of sort of saying, right, okay, now I'm going to make a choice to do something about it, that you've both spoken about. I mean, how's that played out for you, Steph? Because you've been through some major changes, haven't you, over the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, number one, I've learned a lot from Brice. So that's been a big help. That's been a huge help. That's been a life changer, actually. So thank you. Because I was in the medical pharmaceutical world before I was a medical assistant. I was a pharmacy technician. And so and I had religious programming in addition to it. So I had all that matrix programming. And so even though most of the time something felt very off about it and very wrong about it, because my gut intuition was always screaming at me about, okay, something's off here. And so I really had to step back and channel through everything, all the behaviors that programming kind of created in me. And I really had to work through everything little by little. I remember like a lot of things that I was learning about the religious stuff. And I didn't outwardly come out with it, but I was getting pretty triggered and angry about stuff. I mean, you get a lot of like fundamentalists who really like, you know, they threaten Brice or they threaten me, because we talk about that a lot on our shows and stuff like that. And now it's just like, oh yeah, like I get it now. That makes a lot of sense. And now it's like life makes so much more sense. So for instance, I have an ankle injury on my left side. I got mommy problems there. You know, that's emotions. I have to work through some of the traumas that I have with the mother figure in my life. So it's teaching me, okay, I have this injury or I have this going on. So what is that trying to teach me now? So it's a different perspective. It's not, you're not pinning everything on outside sources. You're taking the opportunity to learn from what's happening inside your body.
And I say that I brought the religious up because that's one thing, especially, you know, I'm from the deep, you're from the Northeast, I'm from the Southeast. And there's this, you know, predominantly most people are grandfathered into the Christian faith. And there's this idea that, you know, Jesus is going to save you. Jesus is going to save you. Jesus is going to save you. And when you realize that no one's going to save you, you have the Christ consciousness is actually you saving yourself. And part of you saving yourself, and we say this a lot in the yoga world, like you have to have friction. There has to be friction in order for there to be a spark of life. And so everything that happens to you in life, you know, the extreme traumas to the minor traumas, whatever it is that's going to cause that type of like disturbance within your energy is friction. And that it's like, I always compare it to striking a match. We're not at that stage in our evolution yet to hold the match, just be like light, you know, we have to actually strike it right now, right? That's where we are. And you have to have that strike in order to have that light. That strike is your trauma. That strike is anything that's happened to you that's made you a little wobbly, that's caused you to have some type of reaction within yourself. And when we realize that, even though that's not that strike is, that friction is uncomfortable, it's necessary. It's necessary to have that light. It's like when if you're a big, like, you know, I use exercise as therapy, like, because using the human body, exercising and the yoga practice, everything is what brings information to you. But if you look at it on a very basic level, if someone goes to the gym and they're lifting weights or they're using something with resistance, they need that resistance to create the muscle. That's the friction again. So as above, so below, as the macro, so the micro. So you see those traumas as that resistance that's going to give you a course correction. It's going to eventually give you that clarity. It's like a magic potion. You do have the choice. You can sit around and be like, ho hum, all this stuff's happened to me. I've had such a shitty childhood. I've done all, boo-hoo. And in that attitude, you're going to keep attracting the same type of stuff, because the universe is God's going, no, that's not quite right. But I'm going to keep giving you opportunities to figure this out. So if you want those opportunities to stop, then you got to sit down and try to figure it out. And that's why I said it's a plot twist.
Yeah.
You're not the victim.
No, there's three points in there that are fascinating. I want to bounce between them all. The metaphysical anatomy. So you're saying about your left ankle. Someone got me a book, big, it's like a massive encyclopedia called Metaphysical Anatomy. And I use it for clients as well. So if a client phones up and goes, oh, I've always got an elbow or something going on, I go, okay, now I'll see you for your session on Thursday. And I'll go through the book and go, oh, and you'll read down and it'll give you the whole emotional list of things that are stuck in the background that could be a cause, could be. So, and I'll tell you what, this thing is absolutely spot on. So the metaphysical anatomy, if I get anything going on in the body pain-wise, I'll always have a quick look through the book and go, just out of curiosity, is there anything, it's related, yes, I've had that come up, right, I'll shift that. And like you say, then you get, again, it's awareness, isn't it, to move it. The sparking, I love that. You've got to have resistance. It's so true. And that can be, something simple, like you've not sent an email and you get a bit of anxiety. That anxiety, when you think about it like that's, that's your match to strike to, do the email, the anxiety will go away. It's really, really important, isn't it, to get a different, that one has just really hit me today, because I was always taught there's a spark of greatness in everybody. You've just got to help someone ignite it. And I love that, because that's what I do, daily. I'm always thinking, when I hear people talk, how can I help them a little bit of their language to get them to go the other way, come out of that space. But that is a different way of looking at all trauma whatsoever. All it is the catalyst. You've just got to strike through it and then off, and then away you go. That will send you into a different space. And the third point, sorry, just jumping in, was it's the attractive magnetic energy as well. So like you said, Brice, it's the one way, it's God saying, here's another go, but also it's the awareness of knowing whatever you're thinking is the electrical signal, whatever you're feeling is the magnetic generated signal, combined together, go out into the conscious collective field, and they actually ask for what you want. Yeah. So those two things combined, if your thought and emotion is in a negative, your human system and the collective energy field, whatever we want to call it, is going, oh, they want some more of that. We'll just send them a bit more then. And so you get more, you think more, you feel more, you get more, you think more, you feel more. So when you become aware of that loop, you can go, actually, what techniques do I need to break the cycle?
Absolutely. And I really want to talk about that, because it's so important, because we hear so much talking about, I 100% agree with that. We need that friction, but we don't need to stay there. And the thing is, the more your awareness and you work on your awareness, which is such fun, we can enjoy, the whole point about this is to enjoy the process, because like we're always laughing, aren't we, Brice, when we were talking, because now you can see it so quickly. It's like once that light spark does go on, you can see it and recognize it, and therefore take action quicker and not wait till something catastrophic happens in your life. If it does, fair enough, that's fine, you can learn from that. But actually, we don't have to have that catastrophe happen in our life to learn. It's so exciting. So let's go around and see what some of our favorite tips are for actually moving this, because everyone's going to be watching this that's going to have something that's causing these issues for them at the moment, all different priorities. So starting with you, Wendy, what's one of your top tips for people to recognize and start moving through it? Taking
action. So if I give you an example, this is one of my favorite things in whatever may it be. At the moment, I'm just going through the process. I've removed my electric meter, well, not personally, because I'm not an electrician, obviously, but I've had someone come in and remove my electricity meter, put in my own private meter, because I'm now pulling out of the system and I'm going to go directly to the national grid. And it's an interesting process, because I was feeling a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety around it, because it's the unknown. So, actually two things, knowledge and action. There you go. So for me, what has happened is I'm 3 months into the process. I've finished my contract with my old company. So I'm now a private agent myself for my own electricity, going direct to the national grid. And I still have the old company writing to me, to the new owner occupier. which under many ways it's fraud and attempted extortion, because they don't even have a meter in my house. So, but that's a by the by. The process I've been going through, I've been waking up some mornings with anxiety and a bit of fear connected to it. And I was thinking to myself, what is it about this? Because I know loads of people that have done this successfully for over 20 years. And if you read legislation actually states unless you're a commercial property, you don't have to pay for gas, electric and water in the UK. So I don't know about out there in the US. So anyway, I know that it's done because I know people have done it. But for me, I've never been through this process. So I was experiencing anxiety and fear. So what I did was I just kept getting hold of people. When I'd get something come in and I didn't know what to do with it, I'd phone someone straight away, not sit with it and think, oh, I don't know what to do. I'd literally find someone and ring them and go, I need some help. I just need some advice. What do I do? And they'd go, da, da, da. And I'd go, why do I do that? And they'd tell me the why and tell me where to look. And then once I'd gained the knowledge, the fear goes, the anxiety goes, and then I take the action. So that's pretty much one of my favourite things to do. Normally, fear and anxiety comes in because you've got a lack of knowledge around a situation. So once you gain the knowledge you need and you're happy in yourself that you know that, I know that now. Good, that's it, away we go. You know, and then I take the action. It's the lack of action, I think, sometimes that people, they hold off with sending the email, sending the text, making the phone call, going to the gym for the first time, standing on the stage doing the talk, whatever it is, you know, it's lacking that bit of action. And when you take the action, again, you might fail. Again, you're going to gain more knowledge through whatever process, whether you succeed or fail. So then that gives you more confidence that you can gain the knowledge and move forwards more. Does that make sense, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Steph? What's one of your top tips?
So I do something, it's kind of like a controlled demolition. Can you hear me okay? I'm kind of over the computer. Okay. So one of the things I actually do to have, like, I'm working through a lot of like old stand-in emotions that have really been just sitting in me. And what I do is I'm a musician and a singer. So, I guess I'll always be, but I haven't performed or anything like that in years. But I go back and I listen to a lot of songs that trigger me to bring up old stuff. So I kind of provoke it in a way because there's certain, because music is so important to me and it always has.
Oh, we've lost them.
They're frozen one moment. Everything's about frequency and vibration, Catherine, isn't it? So
it all is, and it's really funny. It always makes me laugh when it chooses to freeze. It's hysterical, so they might have to drop out
right at that moment. But we can talk.
That's one of the biggest ways.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you froze there.
So
we got to the stage where you said that you would listen, pick something that would trigger you.
So music heals me, but music could either bring up a lot of like nostalgia and amazing emotions that come up like from an era of my life that was happy, but it also can do the opposite. But like I said, it's like a controlled demolition thing where I have stuff come up and I can cry about it and journal about it as I'm listening to something that is bringing up emotions I haven't thought about. And I kind of it's almost like a little boost. Instead of me just thinking about the trauma, it's really loosening up stuff. And it just speaks to my heart because music is just a huge part of my life. It always has been. You know, that's been a big part of my healing, in addition to also exercise as well. So just getting a lot of that stand-in emotion up, because there's some stuff like, you know, we're not consciously aware. We remember some stuff and you have all this energy and it just needs to really come up to the surface and be released and transmuted. So.
Great. What about you, Brice?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off kind of both you guys, but something you said, Wendy, that I say up and telling people a lot: knowledge is power, knowledge protects, and knowledge is infinite. We're never done learning. And something that I deal with and I'm aware of now is when you're dealing with PTSD or CPTSD, it's that diagnosis is never really going to go away. But what happens is now you have the knowledge of it. You can then protect yourself and take that action and that power. So what I do, there's fight. Most people know fight or flight, but there's also freeze and fawn. I'm a freezer. I freeze.
Freeze and what did you say?
Fawn, like fawning. Like, so when you're in a situation, when you're dealing with a traumatic situation, some people will run from it, some people will fight it, some people will fawn the situation, like
try to, like a baby deer.
Like a baby deer, yeah, like fawn it.
Yes, I've never heard that one before. That's a new one on me. I like that.
I don't know much about fawn. I'm a freezer, so I'm like the deer in headlights where I freeze, and so I am the person that will neglect to check my email for a while because I'm stressed out. So that's freeze response, and so that has been one of the hardest things for me to work through is when it happens, feeling that anxiety and actually settling into it, not trying to push it away, but like having it come up, and yes, just doing it. But also something, I will use this as an example, because of the anxiety, because of the trauma, I'm constantly thinking 5 steps ahead. I'm constantly trying to be ahead of the game. And that's a sense of survival. And years ago, when I started second series in Ashtanga yoga, there was this back bend that was really stressful for me. I actually punched.
Just as she punched someone, we freeze again.
Oh dear.
They'll come back in a moment.
It's hysterical. It's always the most flattering photos that stops that. Isn't it funny? It's that pushing that energy wipes it out. So
Teacher coming out of it. It was that's been one of my, can you guys hear us?
We lost you at punching.
Yeah.
So this back bend was very stressful for me, and I would get to the Mysore in the morning, early in the morning, I'd start my practice, and this back bend wasn't until like an hour and a half into my practice. But in my first sun salutation, I would already be thinking about it and stressing about it. And then I read about this technique that it's a form of a Japanese meditation. I don't know what it's called, so please forgive me. But it's where you actually reel it back and you focus, you take your awareness, and whatever you're doing in that moment, you give it full attention. So if you're cutting carrots,
We've gone again. See, everybody wants to know the technicalities of cutting carrots now, Catherine, as well.
I can fill in on this one because I know this one. It's just about being really
you're scrubbing the toilet. If you're in downward facing, yes. Can you guys hear us?
You keep breathing. You keep going, you guys. Yeah.
We watched you at carrots that time.
But we got to the carrots and about focusing the energy back on just the carrots.
So like in my practice, I would get to this where I trained myself in the beginning of my practice to be like, that posture hasn't happened yet. It doesn't even exist in my reality right now. I'm in downward facing dog right now. And so I've started to try to incorporate that into my life too. Like if I have anxiety, if I find myself freezing, but that situation
hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
Yeah. That is an interesting technique of just staying literally in the present, isn't it?
It is. And one of the things that I really practice, which, sort of pulls all of these together, is just making a commitment to yourself. Once you've made that commitment to yourself that you're going to be the best version of yourself that you can today, you can apply that to all areas of life.
It isn't real right now because it hasn't.
We're overlapping.
She's stopped again.
Yeah, I think I'll carry on talking and then they can perhaps restart their internet. So they're rejoining.
Are they rejoining? Oh no, there you go. Rejoining.
Okay. Right.
All right.
We've got most of that in terms of sort of joy, but taking it right back to where you are right here, right now. Yeah.
The present moment is so important, isn't it, for stopping anxiety? Because the majority of anxiety is just your future projection. It's just the thinking of something in the future that hasn't actually happened.
Yeah. And one thing I'm not sure whether they're frozen or not.
They're frozen again.
Yeah. They're frozen again, so I'm going to carry on. Is just is one of the things I love is saying, right, I am making a commitment to myself that I'm going to make the best choice in each moment that I can with the resources available to me. So take, for example, diet and nutrition. We talk about eating a healthy diet and eating healthy nutrition.
Yeah.
But if you're out and about, if you're traveling and the choice is taken away, rather than getting really stressed about it, saying, I'm going to make the best choice with the what's available to me right here, right now. And then not stressing about it, because if you just commit to making the best choices for your physical, emotional, spiritual bodies right here, right now, then the things that you can't control dissipate away, because we can spend so much time worrying about things in our life that we can't control. All we really need to control is the choices that we're making with the options available to us.
And you know, that's a very interesting point as well, because I've sort of studied this a little bit. I have two business partners, Claire Brooks, who's the naturopath, and John Phillips, who works in hostility awareness. But John at the moment is doing a quantum PhD, and he was saying, he's delving into this at the moment, that the thought process will generate an outcome based on what you're eating as well. So he said he'd rather have a happy burger than a sad salad, because if he's running, you know, if he's eating something and not enjoying it because he's eating it for the, you know, sake of it, because this is going to make me healthy, he said you can actually be negatively programming the chemistry in your body to create the negative chemistry related to the food, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying everybody should go out and eat junk food. That's not what I'm saying. But when you're in that position, Catherine, where you're limited, if you're, instead of going, oh, this is a bad thing that I'm eating, it's, you know, or you're calling everything a treat or something like that, oh, I'm being naughty now, I'm eating this, you're actually running a negative chemistry while you're eating that food, so your body will process it differently.
Exactly.
That's the power of this thing, isn't it? It will process whatever you're digesting differently based on what you're running through your head at the time. So in that situation, if you're saying to yourself, actually, I have no other option, I'm going to enjoy this, whatever it is, and then at least your body will process it in a better manner. If you look at the Emoto experiments with water, that shows you that whatever you're thinking, you're going to be running an outcome of it in your fluid system, so to speak. So in that sense, yeah, thoughts are very directive on what happens in the body.
Yeah, exactly. That's so the whole point to it. And you can just apply that to every aspect of your life. So, you know, like going back to what Brice was saying, if you're exercising, I'm going to do the very best right here, right now that I can. And if it won't, but it takes a real commitment. You need to commit to yourself to do it, because the human mind and the ego is very good at making excuses for themselves. So, you know, it is really important. Once you've made that commitment, the choices actually become really easy. Whilst if you're not all in, then actually there's a lot of wiggle room for that and you can get out of it.
Yeah, and any of your viewers, I mean, you might, if they wanted to comment on these videos as well, have any of you been on, for example, I have a full gym out the back of my house, so I don't have to go to a gym anymore because I've been going for years due to my condition. So I have a spin bike, and some days I get on this spin bike, and I love spin biking. You know, I feel like I'm actually going somewhere. And I get on the spin bike and I'll get 3 minutes into it and I can hear my head. This is the awareness part, isn't it? I hear my head going, oh God, get off, it's too hard. You know, what are you doing? And I can feel my legs going really slow. And it's funny because if I focus on the slowness and the thought process of this is so hard, I would get off the spin bike and not bother. But what I do, because I'm aware of my thoughts, I laugh at them. I go, well, that's interesting. That's going to get you, you know, your legs healthy and fit today, isn't it? And then what I do is I go, this is okay. So I sit in the land of, I always say, if you're going to Von Trapp land, so you're trying to be like, yeah, everything's perfect and great, it can be really unsustainable and quite hard to get there. So I go to like this level ground where I'll say to myself, it's okay to pedal slowly. You're still exercising. So I change the thought process just a little bit. So I'm not going, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I just go that little tweak. So I'm like level and I go, this is okay. You can pedal slowly. Then all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, I'll feel myself getting a bit quicker because I'm now in the it's okay. And then I'll say to myself, you're actually enjoying this. So I start talking myself up the ladder slowly until I get to the pace I want. And then I go there, see, you actually enjoy this. But you can walk yourself up slowly when you're just aware of what this thing is doing to you. Because, you know, it's there to support you with whatever you're running through it, isn't it? So,
yeah, I've just got a message from Brice saying their internet's in and out. So if she can rejoin, she can. And if not, obviously she won't. So sort of finishing off then, one of the things that I think fits into everything we've been talking about today is comparison. And, you know, there's so many people, wise people, to say, you know, the only person we should be comparing ourselves to is ourselves. And you know, we all know what our limits are, we know what our priorities are. Everyone watching this will be in different stages of their lives with different challenges, different comparisons. You know, I was saying to my friends yesterday, you know, the type of choices I can make now I've got grown-up children are completely different to when I was looking after toddlers.
Yeah.
So enjoying that phase of the life you're in and trying to move away from comparison. Have you got any tips for that, Wendy? Because that can
be just some personal experiences as well of that through coming through the sporting environment. So all the way through, you're actually taught to compete against other people. We're sort of taught it in life, aren't we? That, you know, we've got to be faster than that person, especially if you're in like high performance sport, and quicker than this one, better shooter than that one. But what it does is it actually takes away a lot of self-esteem and self-belief, because you're always chasing something instead of focusing on you and what you're really, really good at. This was one thing as an athlete and then as a coach that I installed in myself, my teammates, or as coaching in my players. I want to see what you're really good at, because when you're confident within yourself about your own talents and abilities, then that's going to enhance the team. So I want you all to stop competing with each other, because you're not all the same identical identical version of each other. We've all got our own natural talents, haven't we, that get squashed, and then you think you're not good enough in things. So that as a coach in sport was very, very important to me, to get people to look at them. You know, I want to know how you shoot. I don't want you shooting an identical shot as this person, because your body works different. So I want to see how you shoot, and let's make the best out of what you do. Then our team gets really good. That's a lot of the stuff that we do on the retreats, Catherine, is we teach people to stop looking at other people and comparing themselves to other people, because they're not other people. We're all very, very unique systems, you know, that will have our own way of working through, solving problems, looking at challenges. You know, we've all got a map of reality that comes with us that's different to everybody else's on this plane of existence. So one of the main things we like to do is teach people just about their whole entire system, so they can just get a better result the next day or the next minute or the next hour, but a better result out of themselves. So whether that's with their diet, you know, with their understanding of the self, with controlling the thoughts, with becoming emotionally intelligent, with regulating their energy, their face, their tone of voice, their whatever it is, it's that compare yourself to yourself. Think, what is it that I want to improve on? What's going really well? How often do people sit down and look at what's going really well in their life? You know, we're programmed, aren't we, to look at what's wrong. You know, sack off what's wrong. It's irrelevant. We want to look at what's going well and improve on that, so we can get better results. And then I always feel the better you get, the more you can deal with the challenges anyway, and the easier it becomes. So when you start enhancing what is going really well in your life, you'll find it easy. You'll become more resilient as well, and you'll find it easier to get over the challenges that you have. You know,
I need to be calling them challenges, because so many of the things we call challenges are just general life. You know, if we frame it and sort of say, well, you know, just take work, and, you know, we were talking about emails earlier. Well, if you're in business, you're going to get lots of emails. You can see that as a good thing, that you've got communication coming in, or you can see it as a pain in the arse, and that will just completely frame how effective you are at dealing with them. And I think it's a fine line, isn't it, in terms of going back to the subject of Mind Matters, where we've gone this sort of almost like full circles. We've gone through stages where you weren't allowed to talk about any mental health issues at all. Or any of this. If you go back far enough, most of this was actually taught in the family and the tribe environment. You know, this was how you learned from your elders, and this was part and parcel of daily life for people. And now we've got to the stage where everything is stressful. You know, we use stress so much in the vocabulary, and I've got friends who've got teenagers, and I've personally been absolutely horrified to see that everything is a mental health issue for them. You know, if the teacher tells them that their homework's not good enough, they tell the teacher off because that's affecting their mental health. You know, too far. So
too far. Yeah, definitely.
Balance is really important, isn't it, in framing it in your mind. And it's a tricky one. But
the power of language, Catherine, isn't it? I think this is why I love language. We say this, I know you have similar phrases, but I was always taught language, the word spelling, you split it into two, and it's a spell in the doing. That's what the word means. So every single word you utter on the outside of yourself or on the inside of yourself is casting a spell. What type of spells are you casting? Because whatever you're sending out is coming back. And your neurology, from from someone who studies neurology, the neurological side of this, the process is, whatever I'm saying, the body this loves you. This whole system loves you and wants to support you and wants you to get the best results. So it's always listening. How can I bring that in to my person? So if you're saying, oh, that's a problem, that's going to be a problem. This is a problem. The body's always going, oh, it's a problem. What problematic chemistry do I now need to run? What problematic programming from the past do I need to bring back into your system so your body knows how to behave when we're having a problem? And what do I normally do when I have a problem? So my sister always looks at solutions.
Exactly.
Always she said, I've got an issue come up. I need to find a solution for it. That's her language. I'll always say, I've got an interesting challenge just happened. So as soon as you change the wording, the semantic meaning in the body, how your body feels about it changes, which means it will look for a different outcome. Because if you're in stress, as you know, if you're in stress, you're running all the cortisol. Cortisol is good to a certain extent, but not running it all the time. But when you're in your sympathetic nervous system running fight and flight stress hormones, you shut down your productivity. You shut down your access to the collective consciousness so you can find. You shut down your resources, basically. So the best thing you can do is change the language around the conversation, which will already start dissipating your nervous system down to parasympathetic. And then when you get into balance, you'll find you'll just connect into solutions. And the funny thing is, can you hear the ice cream van outside?
Yeah.
The funny thing is as well, solutions will come when you're quiet. So when you wander into that space of energetic balance and you ask for a solution, you say, I need a solution to this problem, just sit quietly, you'll get things popping into your head, write them down. You'll find a solution will come to you quite quickly when you just quieten yourself down and get out the sympathetic nervous system. That would be my advice to anybody. Just do things, deep breathing, put some nice music on, speak to a friend, anything that exercise, go for a walk in the wood, connect with nature. Bring yourself out of the sympathetic nervous system and solutions will appear.
Yeah, I love it. And don't be afraid to nick other people's ideas. You'll all have people around you that, this person's good at that and that person's good at this. And I know one of the phrases that you and I love to use is that's interesting. Yeah. So I'm naturally quite a worrier. I've spent a lot of my professional career in project management, risk management. So I can look forward and work out all the scenarios of what can go right, what can go wrong, what can I put in to mitigate, to stop it. That's the natural way my brain works. But that's a particular, again, animals are such great reflection, because when you're working with an animal, if you hear the pet parent saying, oh, I'm really worried about that, you can see how the animal reacts to that energy. Whilst if they just change it and say, I've noticed something interesting, it's got a completely different vibration. So what I would say is have a look at people, anyone watching this, have a look at people that you think, well, they're handling that quite well, and that person's doing that quite well, and that person knows quite a lot about nutrition, and that person, it's like I always say, be careful who you listen to. My thing, which is completely unpolitically correct, is I'm not going to go to a fat aerobics teacher. If I'm going to a personal fitness trainer, I want the personal fitness trainer to look really fit.
Yeah.
Whatever their age and physique is, they should be making the most out of it. If I'm going to a nutritionist, I expect them to look vibrant.
Yeah.
And it's just generally, but they don't all have to be good at everything. So, pick your little role models and just nick what works for them, mimic, because mimicking is a great way to learn, and you'll see whether it works for you or not.
Well, that's how we learn as children as well, isn't it? It's the thing, we mimic things. But that's saying that's interesting. This is for anybody watching this as well. If you want to detach and start getting away from what I call emotional arousal in the negative, not the positive, or you can use it for the positive as well, because then you can enhance it. What I do now, the awareness is, when I hear thoughts going through my head, this is something I teach all of my clients, and it can be a massive challenge, but it's just a challenge. That's all it is. Be aware of the thoughts and then look at them and listen to them and go, wow, that's interesting. Well, that's an interesting big negative, that one. How's that going to get me a result today? I think I might change that one. But when you start talking to yourself in that way and go like, wow, that was an interesting thought head. Where did that one come from? You know, you'll find you can break patterns really quickly. So there's two things I teach clients, just to leave your viewers, listeners with something. Two things I teach. Number one is to use that phrase, that's interesting. So if someone says something and you have an emotional reaction to it, instead of, you know, throwing that emotion out, say on your inside of yourself, not out loud, by the way, because then you've got to explain yourself away. But on the inside, go like, wow, that's an interesting reaction I've had to that person's map of reality. What does that say about me that I might need to shift? And what on earth does it say about them and their upbringing or where they've come from for them to demonstrate that behavior towards me? It makes you more curious than defensive.
Yeah.
And then the second one, and this is going to sound really weird, but you want to start becoming aware of your program. Pay attention to what leg you put in your knickers or your pants first thing in the morning, right? When I say to a room full of 2,000 people this, put your hand up if you put your right leg in this morning. You know, a few people will put their hands up. Then I'll say, put your hand up if you put your left leg in. And then a few people will do it. And then I go, now put your hand up if you've got no idea what leg you put in your pants first this morning. And the majority of the room will put their hands up. We are on 95% autopilot all day long. So if you want to start fun games to become aware, when you go to put your pants on in the morning, I'll call them pants because that's knickers or pants then, yeah? Notice what leg you go to put in and go, no, that's interesting, I'm a right legger. And put your left leg in first. Do this every day. And I bet you every day you'll wake up and automatically go to put the same leg in every day. It becomes just a fun little game to start breaking down your programs, but not those emotional programs that we've been running for years. This is just your awareness. So use the words, that's interesting, when you hear something or you react. And notice what leg you go for first in the morning. It'll make you chuckle.
We want to know. That fits in so nicely with Dr. Joe Dispenza's. You know, if you keep repeating, if you keep doing the same behaviors every day, you're going to get the same results.
Massively.
So, you know, it's, I love to have fun with this. And, you know, you've got to enjoy the journey. You've got to enjoy the journey. You know, I'm a natural worrier and I'm a natural all hurry up person. And I've slowed down so much recently because it's so great because you miss so much when you hurry. So tell us about your retreats, Wendy. How can people find out about those and when's your next one?
Oh, okay. Well, the website is ultimateretreats.life. So just jump on there. There's lots of information on there. The next one is 6th of October down in Bude in Cornwall. And we only take 12 people because we like to give the best that we possibly can. And the retreats are based around education. So you get every morning there's a class of yoga first thing for those that want to do it, just to wake you up. And then you get a 45-minute session with me all about mindset, personal development, performance coaching. We go through lots of different aspects. And then a 45-minute session with my business partner, who's a naturopath. She deals with the gut-brain axis, gut health, iridology, cellular health, and nutrition. So she'll talk to you about your unique map for that as well. And then the afternoons, we have therapists down there that do acupuncture and massage. So you're welcome to involve in that. But we're only literally 5 minutes from Bude Harbour, where they've got the sea pool, the outdoor sea pool, and there's loads of sites to see. We've got hot tubs, indoor swimming pools, tennis courts. So yeah, you have morning's education, and afternoon is pretty much do as you like. And then we have talks in the evening. We've got lovely fire pits in the woods as well. It's just a really lovely experience.
It really looks lovely. Obviously, the links will be below, everyone, to check those out. And please do check them out, because this is more than just a pamper session. This is empowering you with the tools that are really going to take you forward to the next stage in your life, isn't it, Wendy?
There you go. Catherine needs to be my new marketer, because she's just said exactly that. It is about empowerment. It's personal empowerment. We're not taught these things. And I love going on a retreat and relaxing and being massaged. The thing is, if you're really stressed out and you've not been given any tools or knowledge about the self, you come back and you're all right for a couple of weeks and then you get stressed again. And what we wanted to do was really help people, empower them with the knowledge and the tools so they can learn about themselves in a nice, gentle, safe space. So when they come back into life, they can change things. They can take back their own unique personal power in the environment and start getting the results that everybody wants.
Yeah, really, really important. Oh, thank you so much for today. It's a shame we lost Brice and Stephanie. That's a good thing about the internet. We rely on it too much. But anyway, I'm sure they will be back next time. Thank you so much, Wendy. It's such a pleasure. Now, for those of you that are watching Wendy for the first time, I will also put below the playlist of the other videos that I've done with Wendy, where we explain more about Wendy's story and why she's doing what she's doing and everything. And I really encourage people to listen to that, because you'll really see how today's conversation really fits into that. So I think you'll find it fascinating. Yeah. Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm certainly looking forward to at some stage coming on one of your retreats. It's going to be
I'd love to have you down, Catherine. And thank you for having me, and hello to all of Catherine's viewers.
It's lovely. The good thing is we're so used to these internet things happening now, we just carry on regardless, because it's always one of us that's being chucked off something. So we just carry on. My Zoom started flashing as well. Did you see that earlier? It was flashing.
Yeah, I did. We got some weird energetic stuff. Apparently, on a random note, wire is very good. I don't know what it is. Someone mentioned it to me the other day, so I can look into what wire is.
I had some people send that, and then I looked at the reviews and decided not to. So
not very good. All right, maybe I won't scrap that. Anybody who
we'll see. It might have changed, but yeah. Normally I don't have problems, but I have been noticing this weird flashing coming up recently. So whoever's
who knows? Energy, the universal energy is all changing, Catherine, isn't it?
It is, in a good way. Yeah, perhaps it's flashes coming. Thanks so much, Wendy. Thank you everyone for listening. Let us know in the comments below some of what works for you, because everyone's going to have really good little life hacks that work for them, and share them around, because it's going to resonate with someone else that's watching. Thanks so much. Take care.